Hello everyone and welcome to my Soap Twist 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Bill Spencer sat in the dark light of his Spencer Publications office, the day's weight pressing against his temples. The Los Angeles skyline sparkled beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, but he scarcely noticed. His mind was consumed, entangled in a web of secrets and betrayals that had unfolded over the last few weeks. Luna, his brilliant and ambitious daughter, was pregnant. The news had hit him like a freight train, not because of the pregnancy itself. Bill was used to unexpected life events, but because of the mystery surrounding it. Who was the father? Luna had been tight-lipped, her gaze darting away whenever he pressed for information. After weeks of digging, evading, and sleepless nights, Bill had finally unearthed the truth. It was not what he expected. It was not what everybody expected. The revelation came late the night before, in a secluded area of the Forrester home where secrets appeared to breed like roaches in the walls. Bill had been invited to a tense family reunion, one of those Forrester events when everyone smiled through gritted teeth while harboring ancient grievances. He was not there for the champagne or small conversation. He was there to observe, listen, and put together the puzzle that had been bothering him since Luna's sobbing confession. She hadn't intended to tell him, not yet, but the words had slipped out during a heated discussion about her future at Forrester Creations. "I'm pregnant, Dad," she confessed, her voice breaking. "And I don't know what to do." Bill's typical confidence was vanished, replaced by a hollow aching. He posed the obvious question. Who? But Luna had remained silent, her face a mask of dread and guilt. That night in the mansion, Bill's gaze surveyed the room. Eric Forrester, patriarch and peacemaker, stood near the fireplace, hands clasped behind his back. Ridge, the golden son, was deep in conversation with Brooke, their heads bowed together like conspirators. Steffi, sharp and guarded, drank her wine and cast infrequent looks at her husband, Finn. And then there came Liam, Bill's son, standing near the bar with a distracted expression. Bill's eyes lingered on each of them, looking for hints, any evidence of remorse or anxiety. He'd already ruled out the obvious suspects. Luna's ex-boyfriend, Zend, had been too preoccupied with his designs to notice her recently, and Ridge's youngest, RJ, was too preoccupied with his own problems to become involved. But somebody in this room knew something. Bill could feel it. The truth emerged not from a confession, but from a slip, a careless moment that ripped the facade apart. Hope, of all people, let it escape. Hope has sincere eyes and a tendency to overshare when worried. She was talking to Brooke about Luna's recent behavior, her mood swings, her secrecy, when she uttered a name in whispered tones. The name made Bill's blood run cold. "I saw them together, Mom," Hope said quietly, unconscious that Bill was standing just close enough to listen. Luna and him. It was late at the design office. "I didn't think anything of it at the time, but now." Her voice drifted off, but the damage had already been done. Bill's heart beat as he comprehended the name she had mentioned. Thomas Forrester. Thomas. Ridge has a son. Depending on who you ask, the golden boy transformed into a bad boy and then a rehabilitated hero. Thomas had a history of obsession, crossing lines, and wreaking havoc in his wake. Bill tightened his fists as the parts fell into place. Luna had been working late nights at Forrester Creations, often with Thomas, who was guiding her through a new design line. Bill hadn't given it much thought. Thomas was older, more experienced, and apparently engaged to Paris Buckingham. But now it makes sense. The late nights, the whispered chats, Luna's hesitation to identify the father. It was Thomas. It needed to be. Bill did not confront Thomas that night. He could not. The room was full, and the stakes were too high. Instead, he observed. Thomas was his normal charming self, joking with Steffi and toasting with Eric, but there was a flicker of unease in his eyes when Luna entered the room. Bill saw it, and it confirmed his fears. He left the gathering early, his mind racing and his wrath boiling beneath the surface. He needed proof not only for himself, but also for Luna. She deserved the truth, even if it meant breaking her heart. The next morning, Bill requested a favor. He had contacts, private investigators, tech wizards, and people who could dig up dirt on anyone. By lunchtime, he got what he needed: late-night security footage from Forrester Creations that showed Luna and Thomas in the design office. They were not working. The footage was shaky, but the intimacy was clear. Thomas's hand on Luna's shoulder, her head inclined toward his, their faces too near for comfort. Bill's stomach churned. He didn't need to see any more. He did not want to. He discovered Luna at her apartment that afternoon. She lay curled up on the couch, her eyes red from crying. The sight of her broke something in Bill. He had always regarded her as his little girl, feisty and independent, yet still in need of his protection. Now she appeared little and vulnerable, as if the weight of the world was crushing her. "Luna," he whispered softly, sitting next to her. "We need to talk." She looked up, hesitant. "About what?" "About Thomas," Bill continued, his voice firm but tinged with fury. "Isn't he the father?" Luna's face crumbled as she buried her head in her hands. "Dad, please," she whispered. "Don't." "What?" Bill's voice soared, despite himself. "Don't you care? Don't you strive to protect yourself? Luna, he is engaged. He is older than you. He took advantage of you." "It wasn't like that," Luna answered quietly. She raised her head, her eyes begging. "It just happened. We were working late, and I was unhappy about RJ. Thomas was present and he listened. He understood. One thing led to another, and—" She paused, her breath catching. "I did not intend for it to happen. I did not want this." Bill's jaw hardened. He wanted to storm out, locate Thomas, and hold him accountable. But Luna's pain kept him grounded. She needed his support right now, not his fury. "Okay," he answered, forcing his tone to relax. "Okay, sweetheart. We will work this out. Together." The days that followed were a jumble of difficult discussions and impossible decisions. Bill confronted Thomas quietly, away from the prying eyes of the Forrester family. Thomas did not refute it. He stood there with his shoulders bowed, his normal confidence replaced by a look of remorse. "I care about Luna," he added softly. "It was not intended. I never meant to hurt her." "You're engaged," Bill snapped. "You're supposed to be a mentor, not this." "I know," Thomas interrupted. "I botched up. But I will take responsibility. I'll be there for her and the kid." Bill didn't trust him. Thomas's track record was plagued with broken promises and poor decisions. But Luna's emotions complicated everything. She didn't want Thomas demonized, nor did she want the controversy to engulf her life. She urged Bill to keep it quiet, so she could handle it her way. Against his better judgment, he agreed for the moment. The secret couldn't be hidden forever. Los Angeles was a small world, and the Forrester and Spencer households were even smaller. Whispers began to spread, spurred by Hope's guilt over her unintentional slip and Paris' rising concerns about Thomas's late nights. When Paris faced Luna, the truth came out, and the consequences were dramatic. Paris broke off her engagement to Thomas, her eyes flaming with betrayal. Ridge, torn between loyalty to his son and revulsion at Thomas's behavior, withdrew himself from the matter. Brooke attempted to intervene, but her attempts only exacerbated the conflict between the families. Luna, trapped in the middle of the storm, retreated. She stopped going to Forrester Creations and answering phone calls. Bill watched her drift away, her spark diminishing with each passing day. He attempted to be there for her, but he felt useless. The baby was on its way, bringing with it an unknown future. Bill's rage toward Thomas persisted, but it was tempered by a deeper sadness for Luna, for the life she'd imagined, for the family they'd both worked so hard to keep together. Bill talked softly one night while sitting by Luna's side, her hand resting on her expanding belly. "I am terrified, Dad. But I want to be strong. For the baby. For me." "You are strong," Bill replied, his voice full with emotion. "Stronger than you realize. And I am here. Always." The future was unknown. Thomas remained in the picture, vowing to step up, but Bill did not believe promises. The Forresters circled, each with their own objective. And Luna, his fierce, gorgeous daughter, faced a future she had not chosen. But one thing was certain. Bill would battle for her happiness, and her peace, regardless of what it required. The Los Angeles skyline sparkled outside, oblivious to the catastrophe unfolding inside. Bill felt a jolt of intense love as he stared at Luna, her face lighted by the warm glow of the lamp. This was his daughter, his family, and no secret, treachery, or scandal could alter that. They were going to face whatever came next together. Bill had always thought that Luna was the brightest aspect of his life. Even when his own world appeared drab and heavy with problems he couldn't bear alone. She was his 4-year-old sister, but she had always been a source of strength for him. Her joy permeated every place they entered. Her unwavering optimism that life could be better drove Bill to keep going even when he wanted to give up. Their parents had been cruel, and their house was more like a battleground than a safe haven, but Luna had always been a light in the darkness. When Luna told him she was pregnant, his heart tightened, not in wrath, but in terror. She was only 19 years old, still trying to figure out where she fit in the world, when she was abruptly asked to bring another life into it. Bill declined to inquire about the father's identity. He badly wanted to ask her questions, but as he saw her eyes well up with tears, he swallowed them. Instead, he assured her, "I've got you. No matter what, I've got you." She had smiled through her shaking lips and muttered, "Thank you, Bill." He attempted to tolerate the stillness for months. Perhaps she was ashamed, afraid, or the father had abandoned her. None of these factors would alter his role in her life. He worked 2 jobs to ensure they could afford a small apartment away from their parents, and he cooked dinners late into the night while Luna slept. When the baby kicked for the first time, she took Bill's hand and pushed it against her stomach, and he sensed something nearly divine. He persuaded himself it didn't matter who his father was. However, silence has a way of chewing at individuals, and the truth eventually emerges, whether or not they are ready. It happened on a peaceful evening in December. The snow was falling outside the small flat, and the wind whistled softly across the windows. Bill had returned from work fatigued, his fingers numb from the cold, and his body rigid. He discovered Luna dozing on the couch, her hand resting protectively on her round belly. A folded letter was on the coffee table, sealed but unaddressed. At first, he assumed it was something commonplace, like a letter for the doctor or a list of supplies she needed. But there was something about the way it was carefully put in the center of the table that suggested Luna intended for someone to find it. He sat down tentatively and flipped the envelope over in his hands. His name was lightly scrawled on the inside of the flap, virtually undetectable unless one looked carefully. Bill's heart raced as he opened it. The letter was brief, and her handwriting shaky. "Bill, I'm not sure how long I can keep this from you, but you deserve to know. My baby's father is someone you know. Someone close to us. I never wanted this to happen, and I never intended to hurt you. I'm not sure if I was loved or used, but whatever happened, happened. Please do not hate me. Please do not despise him. I just want tranquility for my child." The words blurred in front of his eyes. His chest clenched, and his breathing became unsteady. Someone he knew. Someone close. The weight of those possibilities pressed down on him, as if the entire universe had fallen on his shoulders. When Luna moved and saw the letter in his palm, she froze. Her lips parted as if to speak, but no sound emerged. Tears welled in her eyes, and she shook her head slowly, as if beseeching him not to ask. But Bill's harsh and shaky voice rang out. "Who, Luna? Tell me who." She refused for quite some time. She turned aside, covered her mouth with her hands, and quietly sobbed. Bill felt divided between the protective brother who wanted to shield her from sorrow and the guy whose veins blazed with betrayal. She finally spoke a name in a scarcely audible whisper. Bill froze. He believed he had misheard. He asked again, this time in a stronger tone, his fists clenched. She repeated the name. It was Michael. Michael is Bill's best buddy from boyhood. He grew up with this boy, who shared his secrets, laughter, and grief. The person who had stuck by him through every adversity. The person he trusted the most. Bill's gut twisted uncontrollably. His thoughts clashed like waves in a storm. He remembered the nights Michael would come over, The way he and Luna would talk while Bill was not in the room, and the subtle glances he had disregarded because he trusted him too much to notice anything amiss. "How could you let this happen?" Bill's voice broke, raspy with agony. He wasn't sure if he was speaking to Luna or to himself. Luna sobbed harder. "I didn't mean it, Bill. I swear I didn't mean for this. I was so lost." He claimed to care. "I wanted to believe it. But now he is gone. He ignores my calls. I believe he is also ashamed." Bill placed his palms to his face, attempting to calm the fury that was roaring within him. Betrayal pierced through his veins more sharply than any knife. He wanted to yell, pound walls, and confront Michael for answers. But when he saw Luna, shaking, broken, and carrying life within her, he swallowed his rage. His wrath wouldn't help her. Days passed into weeks, and Bill felt the weight of the truth like an anchor around his neck. He still cared for Luna and supported her during her pregnancy, but something inside him had shattered. When he closed his eyes, he saw Michael's face. Every time he walked down the street, he half expected to see him around the corner. Bill discovered Michael one night when he couldn't take it any longer. He was in the tavern where they had spent numerous nights together as teenagers, when everything seemed simple. Michael appeared older now, with a harsher face and darkened eyes. When he spotted Bill, shame washed over his features like a ghost. "You know," Bill replied bluntly, his voice as chilly as winter air. Michael swallowed and said nothing. "Why?" Bill demanded, his voice cracking with the weight of the word. "She is my sister. You were my brother." "Why?" Michael eventually spoke, his voice low and hoarse. "I didn't mean for this to happen, Bill. We were both broken that night. You were working late, she was upset, and we drank together, which escalated the situation. Every day, I have regrets. I couldn't face you. That is why I disappeared." Bill's hands trembled furiously at his sides. He wanted to punch him, to make him experience the misery that had taken over his every waking moment. However, the rage grew combined with sorrow, resulting in something heavier than violence could ever release. "You ruined everything," Bill murmured. "Do you actually care about the child?" Michael's silence was sufficient. Bill moved away, each stride heavy and his chest hollow. He returned to Luna, who was waiting at home with swollen eyes from crying. He did not tell her what Michael said. She didn't need to know that the man who fathered her child was completely opposed to it. That reality would break her spirit, and Bill refused to let her bear that burden. Instead, he sat next to her, put his hand on her shoulder and murmured, "We'll be okay. I promise." When Luna gave birth to a baby girl, Bill was the first to hold her. He peered into her tiny eyes and felt something he'd never felt before, an overwhelming desire to protect, love, and sacrifice. In that moment, he realized it didn't matter who the biological father is. To that child, he would be the one who remained. Years have passed. The agony never fully went away, but it evolved. Bill nursed the tiny child as if she were his own, and Luna recovered gradually, piece by piece. Michael became nothing more than a shadow in their past, a scar they learnt to live with. There were evenings when Bill lay awake, staring at the ceiling, troubled by betrayal and the loss of a friendship that had once defined his life. But when he heard his niece's calm breathing down the hall, saw Luna smile again, and realized that life could flourish even in the darkest soil, he knew he'd made the correct decision. He would always mourn what had been broken, but he also understood this truth. Sometimes family is defined not by blood, but by those who choose to stay when the world breaks apart. And Bill had stayed. Always.